Hello, my name is Albert Gurrier, and welcome to another installment of Slammin' Synapses. This segment can be submitted for possible inclusion to the PW Insider family of websites. That's pwinsider.com, pwinsiderelite.com, and pwinsiderextra.com. Like I said before, many times, the Elite site is a great site to go to. Lots of great content, lots of great audio, worth checking out. Got into a discussion with someone on Facebook in regards to how I started appreciating professional wrestling. Going to start off with a bunch of backstory, so here we go. In Los Angeles, growing up, I was watching TV, was kind of bored, was trying to find something to watch, and came across this program where I saw Andre the Giant facing off against three guys. From that point forward, I realized wrestling was the thing for me and started watching it more. Now, over time, an Anaheim-based station, KDOC TV, would show things like World Class Championship Wrestling, would also show NWA Worldwide Wrestling. There was another channel that would show Southwest Championship Wrestling. So I pretty much got my fill. But at that time, didn't have cable, so I wasn't exposed to the Saturday and Sunday shows or anything else that was out there. Because there was a kind of like a war between two cable companies as to who would provide content for our particular area. So also at that time, LA wasn't the hotbed that it is now. It was before, but at that time, it just wasn't the place to go. Now, at that time, you could also find lots of magazines about professional wrestling, like The Wrestler, or Pro Wrestling Illustrated, or Wrestling USA, Wrestling All Stars. Granted, you could find like 16 magazines out there, whereas nowadays you'd be lucky to find 2. But the coverage that there was pretty much the what's the word I'm looking for? It's pretty much the mainstream type stuff. So wasn't too familiar with the background stuff. As time went on and I started watching cable a bit more, there was this channel that was devoted to showing you what was going to be on in terms of cable programming. It was basically a background. It was basically a radio station that provided background to schedule crawlers of the times and channels and things of that nature. Anyhow, there was a guy by the name of Michael Horn that ran a station called the Cable Radio Network. And on his show, there was a station. On his network, there was basically a channel that discussed cable and programming and things of that nature. Start calling in on the show because they did a TV theme trivia that I became a part of the show in terms of offering discussion. Now, at that time, that particular time, I really wasn't that aware of much wrestling. Granted, there was times that I did see a Saturday or Sunday show from time to time, but to be honest, it really wasn't there. As time went on, I would be involved in a game called IWA, Imaginary Wrestling Association, to where it's a wrestling game where you send in moves, you send in money, you put matches together, and it's pretty fun. So, as I was watching CRN, there was a show on there called Wrestle Talk, hosted by Darren McMillan. It's a show devoted to wrestling and discussion, things of that nature, that I started calling in and became a fixture on there. Now, jumping back a bit, when it came to WWF at the Los Angeles Sports Arena, they were pretty regular in their shows that they would come back every month, to the point to where if you got there early enough, you could then, when the doors open, get in, go to the box office, get your tickets for the next show, and usually that wound up with you getting really good seats. So, there was this guy on Wrestle Talk, one of his many people that called in that did a spot on Macho Man impression. Now, as time went on, that guy, and jumping over to another topic before I get into that, Darren McMillan would be part of a thing called Slammers. It was a wrestling federation in San Bernardino that taught you how to become a wrestler. It's headed up by Vern Langdon. One of the people that went there is the person I'm about to talk to you about now. His name was Travis Berry. Now, as Wrestle Talk went on, somehow we got in contact with one another. Don't know how. I don't know whether it was like a side conversation, what have you, but basically I started talking to him more and eventually would wind up meeting him at the show. And therefore we became friends and cultivated stuff, and he would essentially show me more Saturday and Sunday things from TBS. He would also show me things from Japan and things of that nature, that I became more involved in the professional wrestling thing. Now, at the same time, he would also expose me to things like the Wrestling Observer and things like the Lariat and the Torch. Those are newsletters at that time that was devoted to the background, the meat of the material, the things that the mainstream magazines didn't really expose you to. So it's with that as I started knowing him more and I started being exposed to more, I started realizing there was a lot more professional wrestling out there beyond that which I had been otherwise aware of. So as time went on, we started talking more and started becoming more open and aware, and we listened more to Wrestle Talk and had a fun time. WWF started doing a online wrestling chat room to where I would get on, met someone on there, moved out here to be with, and since split, but that's a different topic for another time. But basically got away from LA. Now in LA, David Marquez had yet to start up Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, but as time went on, XPW became prevalent. Like I said, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood became prevalent. LA became a hotbed again. Now, at the time, Darren McMillan, most of you may know him better as Dynamite D. Now, Dynamite D would go on to wrestle, and he became known as Mr. 80s, in which he would do a homage to people that made wrestling what it is. People like Million Dollar Man and Randy Savage and Rick Martel and Hulk Hogan. He did pretty well at it. And unfortunately, Darren McMillan would pass away due to cancer. My condolences definitely go out to his family, and he's really become close to heart. However, if it weren't for his show, Wrestle Talk, I would never have met Travis Berry, who would then impart his knowledge onto me and his wisdom, which made me appreciate stuff a bit more. Now, as you go on in life, you're going to come across people that you're going to become mentors to. They're going to become your disciples, in a sense. They're going to become people that you impart your wisdom on, that they would eventually come to appreciate the knowledge that you impart upon them. Whether it be things like professional wrestling, whether it be things like carpentry or architecture or plumbing or culinary skills or things of that nature. There are going to be those people that you're going to put your knowledge into, that they're going to appreciate it just as much as you do, if not more. But like I said, if it wasn't for people like Darren McMillan, who had that show that then made me become exposed to Travis, granted, it might have happened, might not have, but you never know. As I came here, I would become involved in Scott County Wrestling. I've become involved in AAW in terms of being a ring announcer on and off for about a good 10 years. That I've been very appreciative of that experience, of that capability. Whereas with most people, I've been given the chance to do things that most people would not have the chance to otherwise be. There's going to be a slight edit there. Was asked a question off camera, so forgive that. But yeah, became involved with being a ring announcer and was given, like I said, an opportunity to do something that most people don't. And I'll always be thankful and grateful of that. But I don't think, like I said, it may have happened anyway, may not have, but I owe all that to knowing people like Darren, knowing people like Travis that gave their wisdom and knowledge on to me. So, like I said, it may have happened, it may not have. But I'm grateful of the starting blocks that allowed it to happen, and allowing me to have a greater appreciation for wrestling today. Nowadays, they have YouTube. Nowadays, you have the internet. You can become exposed to any of this 24/7. Back then, not so much. But it's just amazing with time and mentorship, and the fact that someone takes time out of their life to expose you to their world and their loves and their enjoyment. So, Travis Berry, as well as Darren McMillan, may you rest in peace. Thank you for being there and providing the starting blocks for my appreciation in this whole world of professional wrestling. If you want to drop me a comment, feel free to do so. You can do so at agourier@yahoo.com. That's AGOURRIER @yahoo.com. But more importantly, you can find me on Facebook at Slammin Synapses. That's Slammin Synapses, no G. You could also find me on Twitter at Slammin Synapses as well. So that's going to be it for me today. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your patience. If you like it, share it with a friend. Until next segment, this is Albert Gourier for Slammin Synapses saying so long from ringside. Have a good day. Good night, everybody.